Welcome to the Seahawks Forever podcast. In-depth analysis on everything Seahawks. And now, here's your host, Dan Viens.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using the code FOREVER. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
Also want to let you know about a special deal going on over at Omaha Steaks right now. If you go to omahasteaks.com, you can take your pick of USDA certified steaks and have them delivered to your front door, individually cryopacked in a cold case. And if you use the promo code FOREVER, they're going to give you $35 off at checkout. Go to omahasteaks.com, order your USDA certified steaks. Use the promo code FOREVER. Terms and conditions apply. They're going to give you $35 off at checkout. All right, let's bring Bryce back in here. This is our official post-game show. The Seahawks beat the 49ers 41-6 today to advance to the NFC Championship game. Sam Darnold's oblique was fine. Charles Cross was fine till the end. We'll get some updates on some potential injuries there. But an absolute beatdown from the very first kick when Rashid Shaheed ran the kickoff back 97 yards for a touchdown to get this thing started. Bryce, how do you feel, and did you ever think it would look like this?
I didn't think it was going to look like this. I did not think the most complete Seahawks football game was going to come in the divisional round versus a division opponent coming off a very big win in the wild card round. To see this team do what they did, literally from the opening kickoff until the final whistle, completely dominate an opponent in every aspect of the game. It didn't matter.
I want to say this right off the top. I think it's important to acknowledge a couple of things. Number one is the 49ers did have to deal with a historically terrible rash of injuries this entire season. From the very beginning of the season, they lose Nick Bosa, and then lose Fred Warner. Trent Williams missed games down the stretch. Not to mention all the players that walked out the door in free agency during the offseason. Ricky Pearsall hardly being able to play this year. Brandon Ayuk never coming back. We get all of that. And then I also think the fact that this last 3-4 weeks for the Niners has not been easy for them by not getting the #1 seed, by losing week 18, having to play, they played 3 games in 13 days leading up to that game, and then having to turn around again on a short week after playing a really physical Eagles team on the East Coast on Sunday night, having to come back on a short week. All those things add up. But 41-6 is more than that. And this is a complete ass whooping from a team that I believe is more complete and is dialed in, and they beat this team in all 3 phases soundly today.
Oh, they completely did, Dan. And it wasn't a situation where, yes, we can acknowledge the 49ers injuries and everything, and what they did and how they got here, phenomenal job. But I said earlier this week, I know we talked about it on Syndicate. We talked about it with respective guests that we've had on. You've had Rob on, I've had Jason. And the 49ers really did kind of have a feeling that they were going to be able to come into this game and hang with the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
I kept pushing back on that narrative, going the health of this team and the fact you're missing key pieces is going to make this very hard to compete for the entire game. And Seattle must have heard what I said and said, screw that. We're just going to do it from the opening kickoff and prove to everybody why we are where we are. But Ken Walker tonight, 22 total touches for 145 yards, and 116 of that was on the ground with 19 carries for 3 touchdowns, tying the postseason record for rushing touchdowns held by Sean Alexander.
Nice. We have a special guest sitting in the green room waiting to join us. Hopefully this will fit on the screen. I have no idea how this is going to look when we bring him in here. What up, Michael Thompson? How we doing, brother?
Bang, bang, Niner gang.
We
Bye.
don't even know what that. I don't even know what that means. What does that mean, dude?
Oh man, F the faithful. Man, 41-6. How you guys doing?
How you doing, Mike? You definitely sounding a lot better now, brother.
Oh, and he's froze. Well, let's get to this from Osiris. Good to see you. Fresh out of our Discord over on Northwest Forever on the Patreon. Thanks for the donation. This puts fear in all the remaining teams. This is Mike Macdonald football. How anyone else could win Coach of the Year. Unfortunately, those votes get tallied before the playoffs start, and unfortunately, I think he's not going to get it. But let's talk about that. Like when Mike Macdonald was hired, Michael, I'll ask you first. Did you think we'd be here this quickly?
No. I thought, just talking with you, Dan, when this was all going on, I think you and I were both like, man, it'd be sweet if we got Ben Johnson, but Mike Macdonald would be pretty cool. I think you and I were both like, well, man, if you get Mike Macdonald, you're going to be stuck in this offensive coordinator problem that we probably still are going to be in, but like, maybe. I don't think we even thought Mike Macdonald was this much of a wizard. Like we literally have hired the Sean McVay of defensive wizardry, the Kyle Shanahan of wizardry. Like what Macdonald has done lately to Kyle Shanahan, nobody in the NFL has done. It's not even just that. Like the growth in him from year 1 to year 2 mirrors the growth from year 1 to year 2 of just this whole regime. Right. This team feels absolutely connected. Macdonald, I mean, I'm watching on TV right now. Like he's connected with the fan base. Like he's running through that tunnel, like hooting and hollering with the fans. Like, yeah, you guys remember those first interviews he had? That guy was not a head coach. He was trying to figure out on the fly how to do it. He knows it now. He feels so much more comfortable. It is his team. It is John Schneider. Look at him, man. That's just so awesome. Like, this is Sean Schneider's organization, and this is Mike Macdonald's team. And Mike has been given enough tools from John in 2 off seasons that we have built the baddest, toughest, meanest SOB team in the NFL. Like, yes, this might be considered a down year in terms of the quality of all the teams, but I also think this is an all-time level team. And holy crap, it only took 20-something to 30 games for us to get to that point. It's insane.
And Bryce, you and I have talked about this a lot, Bryce. We thought this is where this team was heading, but we didn't think it was going to get there till next year.
Year 3. This felt like year 3, right, guys?
Yeah.
It very much felt like year 3. I will say this, and this is something I brought up. I think, Dan, it may have been in a conversation with you. I feel John Schneider and Mike Macdonald might be more symbiotic than Pete and John were. In the way they see football, in the way they build a team, the way that the way that they want roster construction and how to play football, it seems more connected.
Yeah.
And that's not saying what Pete and John had wasn't connected. But I think with Mike being as young as he is and John having that experience, I feel like they're more connected in a way because there's something different in that building. And I've heard it from people, like there's just something different in the way that they view things, the way that they prepare it. Man, like I'll say this too. We got told we want to be elite at running the football. That's what we got told this offseason. That is what Abe Lucas said. We're going to be elite at running the football.
And guys, we're elite. It didn't look great through about 10 weeks.
No, it's not.
But you know what? It did the same thing our defense did at the back half of last season.
Yeah.
There was a change, and I hate to say it, but who knows what this Kenny Polamalu situation was with Coach Polamalu. But that change happened at the midseason point, just like Dodson and Baker did last year.
Flipped it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, with Outen taking over the run game, Ken Walker looks like a completely different running back.
Yeah, it really does.
And tonight, like, yes, it was not good to see Charbonnet go down. But then it was like, what's this is K9's opportunity to prove to all of us, like, hey, you're a guy that we can lean on. What does he do? 19 carries, 116 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, and like he ran angry. He ran
like the best
with
player
a
on the
purpose.
football field, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, he did. In my opinion, 100% he was the best player.
Yeah, like and I'll tell you something that I really don't want to get swept, that I don't want to see get swept under the rug is What's been the problem for the last 10 years? Like the dramatic improvement of this offensive line and the impact it's had on this team. Like, I don't, you can tell me, oh, the 49ers haven't put pressure on anybody, but this line's looked like this for quite a while now. Like it's functional and you can operate a really good offense around it. And it's one of those things where we just don't talk about it anymore. You go through an entire important game like this and you don't even think to yourself, oh, I don't know if we can overcome that position group. It's just not, it's been fixed. In 1 year, they completely turned it all around. And I think it speaks to, like, you know, you talk about Coach Macdonald, and you guys have both made great points. He's so even keeled in how he goes about the day-to-day preparation of getting these guys ready to play. And all the things you hear him say and all the things people say about him and how smart he is, like, we've heard those things before. People used to say those things about Pete. But the last couple of years that he was here, it was clear that the league had adapted to the Pete Carroll defensive scheme and had lapped it. And Pete tried to adjust. He tried to, and then he lost his way. He's like, maybe now I need to go to Vic Fangio and figure out what he's doing and try to steal some from that. And then it was just a mess. But this is from the minute he arrived. Mike Macdonald told us, this is what it's going to look like. And this is what I want to build. And he's built exactly that thing. And it's remarkable. And it's so, so, so gratifying to watch.
The thing I'll say too that's interesting about this is with Pete's defense relied on having elite Hall of Fame level players. Like, we're talking about Hall of Fame level players. I don't know, and I'll say this. I think there are guys on this roster that could eventually get to being Pro Bowl level players, all pro level players. But I look at it and I go, Mike is doing this with a Tayakata. He's doing it with a Drake Thomas. He's doing it with guys that aren't Hall of Fame caliber players, and they play like they're all pro level players at points when they're put in the game. And we're talking about Pete Carroll's scheme and his defense and what happened there. Like, after 2015, after that Carolina loss in the playoffs, teams kind of had figured us out, right? They figured out what we were doing. We couldn't cover tight ends. We couldn't do this. The LOB started to fall apart. But Pete's scheme had basically been figured out in that, like, kind of that 3-year window there from 2012 to 2015. Mike's been coaching this style of defense now for over 3 years, over 4 years now, and it's just getting better. And there are copycats out in the NFL. There's, Orr tried to do it in Baltimore, and, you had the coach down in Tennessee. Like, you've seen other teams try and replicate it. The only one that's been close enough to it is Mentor down in LA, but even it's still not proper and it's not right.
Yeah, it's not this.
This is what it feels like for once, guys, to have a genius in the room and everyone goes, crap, no matter what we do, we go up to Seattle, Mike's going to find a way to just scheme up a defense that's going to give us problems. Like, Amy put it in the chat. Kyle Shanahan's daddy is Mike Macdonald. It is true.
And if indeed they play the Rams next week, like, when, Mike, you talked about, like, this is, we finally figured out how to defend this scheme. Like, years and years and years of it just shredding us, and we couldn't find answers. And now we've seen back-to-back games, and really 3 games straight, because week 1, I think, fits in this category. They put together a drive when they needed to, and that was it. But if they had, this defense had shut them down week 1 adequately enough, and that was without Uchenna Nwosu and Eminawari went out on the 5th play and all of that. It just, it's so gratifying when there's hype about something or someone and they meet the hype. And that's how I feel about Coach Macdonald right now. And I also feel a tremendous amount of gratitude and excitement right now about John Schneider. He's a guy that, from the day he was hired, I just always really liked how he went about things personally. I always liked his personality. Then I got to know him a little bit and interact with him a bunch of times. I liked him even more. And when he and Pete both signed their extensions at the same time, about 2 years before Pete was fired, I thought it was interesting at the time that Schneider's was for 1 year beyond Pete's. I always wanted to see what he could do running his own organization without having to share final responsibility and final say on the roster and personnel moves with the head coach and the VP. And my goodness gracious, could you have written the script any better than what we've seen from him in really less than 2 calendar years?
It's unbelievable. And I think like one thing that like we can't forget is it hasn't been perfect, but he's realized when something hasn't matched, like the Grubb hire, which I think we all agreed they had to hire him. It was late. There was a lot that went into the choice. I think we all agreed it was a fun, man, if you're right, you've got the actual brains behind the Kalen DeBoer offense. Turned out that wasn't the case. But instead of being like, well, we just brought him in, we got to give him a second year. If Ryan Grubb's the OC, we're not playing in this game today. And if we are, we're not playing it at home. And that's on John and Mike coming together. Like you said, what would this look like if you gave John the shot? And I think it's this perfect marriage of John being given the keys to the castle and then understanding what he needed and understanding what he needed to get back to, which is something that I think us three have been screaming about for years, is best player available in the draft, right? Attacking the trenches in free agency in some way, shape, or form. Like, again, guys, DeMarcus Lawrence was just an absolute animal tonight. Leonard Williams, that trade for John Schneider to convince him, hey, you need to come and stay in Seattle, right? Like, we all made fun of that transaction. Exactly. Like, just all these moves. This is this is how you make a jump, a supersonic level. Seattle reference. This is how you make a supersonic level jump in 2 years to where you go from a team that has the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mason Rudolph run all over your ass and keep you out of the playoffs to within 25, 26 months later, you're hosting the NFC Championship.
And how about this? All the talk coming into this game about Sam can't win this game.
Yes.
Cannot
Sam
win.
the man.
He's not built for this, right? And even coming into this game banged up and hurt and having to get through. And, I even thought as he was walking into the tunnel or, walking off the field, off the tunnel, he seemed to be walking a little gingerly. Like, let's hope he's okay for next week. But when he only threw it 17 times tonight, 12 out of 17, 124 yards, passer rating of 111. Like, when he did have to throw it, he didn't seem hesitant. He didn't seem trepidatious at all. He let it rip. And Bryce, as the quarterback guy, like, he came up with some of the most impressive throws that we've seen from him all year. And that's saying something considering how good he was the first 10 weeks of the year.
Absolutely. And his roll to his left to flip his hips and throw that ball into the 1 yard area in the back of the end zone to JSN, the throw to after getting sacked on the rollout,
Such a good play.
to come back and throw it to Cooper Kupp on the deep out and layer it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Those goalposts stop freaking moving. And when it comes to talking about Sam Darnold, he's a top 10 NFL quarterback. You may have your wanting to grasp at straws now and hope. He won a football game. He won a playoff game. Get off the man's back.
It's not gonna go away. I had someone that's again, I'll admit it, they're a 49ers fan, but even before halftime, as they were going in for that killer drive, which again, like, you're talking about what do championship teams do, right? Like, they dominate that 2-minute warning. And there was a moment there. You're up 17-0, and the whole crowd, hooting and hollering. It feels like a party. Yes, the 49ers only got 6 points there in that second quarter. But again, it felt like, man, if you don't score here and they go and score coming out of halftime, it's a one-score game. All of a sudden it feels And Sam, again, that holding call was a big, big play that helped the Seahawks there when Charbonnet got hurt. But again, just Darnold hit Bobo.
Hold.
Yeah, it's an unquestionable hold.
100%. I'm not disagreeing with you. But like hitting Kupp there, getting a couple good run plays, hitting Bobo on that 3rd and 10, like – we've been talking about whether we should get rid of Bobo, like how little he has helped out this year.
Up until the last 3 weeks, he did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And again, I know they finished that with a touchdown run, but that's that's another Sam Darnold drive where it just. But even I had someone text me be like, "You're never going to win a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold. You can't when he's playing the way he's playing right now." I'm like, you guys are clearly not watching the game. Like when you have the best special teams, the best defense, and now I would make a case. Arguably, other than the Bears, you're probably right there with the Patriots for the best running team in the league right now. Like the way you've run the football for the last month, you don't need your quarterback to throw the ball 30 times. You don't even need him to throw it 25 times, because if you're getting points from your special teams every single week and your defense is giving up zero touchdowns in back-to-back weeks, right? Like, Sam is doing everything he needs to do. He is Matt Hasselbeck. He is Alex Smith. He is some combination of all those things that we need right now. But you've given, this is, hey, if I gave Alex Smith or Matt Hasselbeck the best defense they've ever had in their life, the best special teams, and a good running game, do you think they could go to the Super Bowl? Yes. Like, a good example, if Alex Smith didn't get his concussion the year when Colin Kaepernick took over and got the Niners to the Super Bowl, I still think the 49ers go to the Super Bowl that year with Alex Smith. I really do. And I think that is what we're seeing right now, is a Sam Darnold-led team where he can be a souped-up game manager, and I mean that as a compliment. Because today he was fantastic, and when you needed him the most, which, hey, we need to stiff-arm the 49ers and get separation before halftime, he says, yeah, we're not just going to go get a field goal. We're going to go get a touchdown and put this game out of reach.
We have another special guest just joining us now. Bringing him to the green room now. Mookie Alexander,
let's go.
Managing editor of Field Goals. Just Mookie, before I get to you with some of your thoughts, just to follow up on that point that you made, Michael, I think that's the tipping point and really of the game was when they got the ball with about 4:32 left to go in the first half. They're up 17-6. And they had a 3-and-out on the previous drive. And then the 49ers answer with a 10-play field goal drive. And then Sam Darnold and the Seahawks get the ball, 10 plays, 80 yards in 401, 3-yard run, 5-yard run, 1-yard run, 30-yard run, the beautiful call on the end around from Shaheed. And then 2 passing completions, then a 16-yarder. As you mentioned, the third down play to Jake Bobo was huge. 9-yard run, 4-yard run, 7-yard touchdown run. And then, of course, they take over on downs and limit the 49ers coming out of halftime to 7 plays, 14 yards, and they stop them on 4th down. Mookie, this team can run the football, something we weren't sure of 5-6 weeks ago. Just your thoughts on this game and what it means and just how it felt. I just want to know your thoughts.
It felt euphoric. It felt like several years of frustration, losing to the Niners repeatedly in ways that really just made it seem like, man, how in the world are we going to catch up to these guys? Well, I know that the 49ers have had a lot of injuries and had even more in this game. But even if you brought everybody back, I think it's so clear that the talent gap that the 49ers once had over the Seahawks, in addition to the schematic advantages, that's all done, ladies and gentlemen. The Seahawks have more than caught up with the 49ers. The Rams is a different story. I think it's pretty clear that the Rams are much more formidable for Seattle. And even that, you don't know how much longer that lasts, depending on what happens with Matthew Stafford. But that was a practically flawless performance. Maybe the only time it got nervy was that second quarter, right before the end of half touchdown drive, where the offense stalled out just a tad with the 3-and-out, and the defense was giving up a couple of field goal drives. But, that end of half touchdown, that to me was the end of the game. Like, any little hope that the Niners had was crushed right there. And that was a terrible penalty for Jordan Elliott to commit. Like, as in, the penalty was fine. Like, it was definitely defensive holding, because had there been no flag, San Francisco would have had a chance to double up, score before halftime, the ball to start the second half. And the job was still not done for the Seahawks. They got a little extra life through that penalty. And what do? You get that 30-yard run with Rashid Shaheed on that end around, and you end up running out so much of the clock that they really didn't have enough time to get a field goal. So that's why they had that Hail Mary attempt at the end. So from maybe 17-9 or 17-13 at the half to 24-6, game, set, and match. And I tell you what, that was their first touchdown drive of longer than 65 yards, which is the newish touchback, since the Falcons game. Since the Falcons game. One of my things about the offense not being as crisp the last several weeks is that, they're still scoring, but they're the beneficiaries of a lot of short fields off turnovers, a great special teams. Well, they sustained a drive too, and they were sustaining drives short and long. So the offense did its job very well, but the defense, man, the vaunted Ricky Pearsall was held to 0 catches for 0 yards on 2 targets.
He's the next JSN, remember?
Yes, the next JSN. Absolutely nothing. Juwan Jennings, well, you got what you wanted, right? So it was unbelievable. That was as complete a performance we've seen from the Seahawks since Super Bowl 48. And maybe not coincidentally, the two largest playoff wins in Seahawks franchise history. Super Bowl 48, I'm talking about like total points, not literal. 35 points against Denver, 35 points against San Francisco. The largest loss of Kyle Shanahan's career.
Ooh.
2 weeks after he got held.
Yeah. Lowest point total, lowest yardage total.
Can you say that again, Mookie?
Largest loss of Kyle Shanahan's career. The previous heaviest was 30 points against the Cowboys in 2017.
Niner gang.
Yep.
Well, that plays right into the cartoon I have, Mookie.
Crazy. Yeah. So I may lose you, Mookie and Michael. I'll add you right back in, but let's throw this up there. Nope, you're all still there. Let's see. We need to be better on offense. Oh, gee, I'm trying, Dad. It is. I think that's one of the remarkable storylines of this game is if you're a 49er fan, you want to try to make excuses about injuries. Well, most of those injuries have been on defense. Like just missing George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk, like this offense averaged 40 points a game over the last few weeks of the year. They were absolutely running up and down the field on anyone. And so you can't now turn around and say, yeah, but we didn't have Ayuk and Kittle was out. Like that. This is now a 2-week sample size, 8 quarters, 120 minutes of Mike Macdonald just completely taking away everything Kyle Shanahan wants to do. That's remarkable.
Dan, I got some updates for you from Coach Macdonald.
Oh, lovely. Directly? Did he text you?
I wish. He said optimistic on Charbonnet.
Good.
Need to get it imaged. Charles Cross was held out of caution.
Nice.
Yeah. I wasn't that worried about Cross. I don't know if you guys saw it, but when he was being escorted off the sideline by a staffer, he didn't have his helmet, but he was kind of like half jogging, sort of like brisk walking. He didn't look like he was favoring either leg. He was laughing. It didn't look like a situation where it was something to be concerned about. Now, when Charbonnet first got hurt, and Bryce and I were talking, it happened in such a way, there wasn't any twisting or anything in the way he was favoring. And it reminded me of times when guys had blown their ACLs before and it didn't look like much. But here's the theory I came up with, because he got hit in the head on that play too. He got helmet to helmet on that same play. In fact, we thought on the replay there might have been a case for a flag to have been thrown. I almost wonder if he went for the knee to distract from the hit to the head, because it just didn't look afterwards like he was that badly banged up.
Yeah, I thought it was a concussion initially, the way he got hurt. But, luckily he wasn't even needed. And it actually forced Clint Kubiak to make Kenneth Walker a natural lead back and stop this 1A, 1B thing. It'd been working lately, the 1A, 1B stuff, but making Walker the one.
It was working tonight.
Yeah, make Walker the 1A, B, and C, and it worked. And I'm so happy for Ken Walker, man. All the red zone touchdowns he wasn't getting throughout the season.
He got him today.
Came in. He made up for lost time. And he was hitting the hole hard with conviction. And the fact that Cross was held out as a precaution and Amari Kite could come in and throw a key block on the second touchdown Walker scored. We liked Amari Kite when we were at training camp. Well, the three of us, we noticed that Amari Kite was getting second run when Cross was out with his hand surgery. Yeah. And I think that was at right tackle. So, like, if Josh Jones ends up walking, let's say that Amari Kite could end up being like the younger undrafted Josh Jones.
Yeah, to have your swing tackle make undrafted money, like that's not a bad way to manage your roster, right? Big shout out to McVirus 6185 for the big donation, $49.99. Thank you for that. Reminder to hit the like button. Let's fucking go. Turned out the lights on them. Welcome to the dark side. Go Hawks. I told Bryce this during our show. I'll say it again with you guys here. I try not to be petty online, but I saved a lot of receipts this week on Twitter. Let me just put it that way. And I'm going to spend a good amount of time when we're done here enjoying the shit out of responding to those.
I got to give Seahawks Twitter right now posted out the best video to add on to this win is when the Seahawks played the Niners in that first game in 2013 and beat them at home. And Sherm got mic'd up and turned, and he goes, "You all thought this was a matchup? It's a mismatch."
Mm-hmm.
They blasted that on their social media right now and just put a waving bye emoji.
Nice.
Love it.
I do think it sends a message, man. I mean, I think no matter what, just if the season ended today, right? Like, let's just think about it. If the commissioner came out tomorrow and said, we're just canceling the rest of the season, whatever. The 49ers are third in this division now, and they're the team that's going to have to go out this offseason and try to figure out how to make up ground. That's how quickly this thing has shifted.
Yeah, that felt like a changing of the guard moment on the Niners side. Still not yet with the Rams, and also like
Sure,
can't just give the Rams a win over the Bears tomorrow. Like that there's still a chance with Chicago. With the way Chicago finds these preposterous ways to win, maybe the Rams aren't immune at all. I mean, they almost lost to Carolina last week. But the 49ers have got a lot to think about. Like Purdy is their guy, fine, but like Kittle is not going to be back by September. I'm almost certain of that. We've been seeing these extremely quick Achilles recoveries, but for a guy in his 30s with a lot of injuries preceding this, like they got to worry about him.
Well, and it's been reported that his was like clean off the bone. Like it was not. Yeah.
Yeah. And then McCaffrey, unfortunately, the shoulder stinger. So he's got another injury after being, ironically, the healthiest 49er all season.
Right.
I don't know how much more they can get out of Trent Williams or whether Trent Williams wants to keep going this late into his career. So there's still going to be quite a bit of tweaking of this roster. Like they've probably gone as far as they can with the current group, and they already shed a lot of guys from last year. So like this was kind of like San Francisco's last stand, if you will. Like they had to make this push, even with all the big changes they made this past offseason. You know, losing Hufanga and Greenlaw and a bunch of Ward and a bunch of other dudes in free agency and cutting some other guys. But I know they were 12-5. I credit them for getting this far with all the injuries they suffered.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's probably it as far as this particular window with this core set of players. Now, how they build around Purdy in the long term with other guys is going to be fascinating because I don't think, obviously, Ayuk ain't coming back.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to rebuild that receiving group, maybe have to look at running back again, figure out what they have to do with their linebacker situation outside of Fred Warner, need a pass rusher badly other than Bosa because you can't rely on him being at his best after another ACL tear. The best they can hope for is that guys like Mike Williams can break out. I think he ended up impressing a bit before his injury, but still, they've got a ways to go now. Like they're behind the Rams for sure. Because don't forget, the Rams blew out the Niners in the second game. Mm-hmm. And Mac Jones might have been starting, but the defense got wrecked in that game. So, yes, at long last, San Francisco's knocked down a peg or two in the NFC West pecking order.
Well, I'll take it a step further, too. You look at the positives going into this offseason for them, and they have a decent amount of cap space. I think it's like $50 million available next year, so they're not strapped, by Purdy's contract or Trent Williams' contract. They can go out. They have some flexibility to make some moves. But we're talking about now they're entering in an offseason having to try to make up ground against the two best teams in the NFC, in my opinion, right now, in the Rams and Seahawks. And the Rams have cap space, and they have draft picks, and they're young. And the 49ers are looking to do that in an offseason when universally everyone agrees it's a down year for the draft. It's the worst draft class we've seen in, some people say, 20 years. And the free agent class isn't good either. Like, this is not a good offseason to have cap space and a bunch of extra comp picks and be trying to improve your team because there aren't a lot of choices out there. Like, it was kind of like, I know they chose this year as a year to try to clear some of their books and get rid of some dead money and all of that. They may look back and regret that because maybe this last offseason would have been the time for them to be aggressive because there aren't a lot of options coming up.
I'm sorry here, guys, but I'm on Twitter right now reading all the stuff that's coming in.
You shouldn't do that.
But I know this one I'm enjoying. So
what are the excuses?
JSN's, no, not that. I'm reading all the good Seahawks stuff. I don't care about the Niners. They're gone. Bye. See ya. But JSN's brother tweeted out, goes, Jack's always wanted a little brother to bully. Welcome to the family, Denor. That might be the best one yet that I have seen. That is so well done. Oh, and like you got Jeff Schwartz, who played in the NFL.
Yeah.
Played for the Chiefs for years, he said this 3 hours ago. So during the game, he goes, "You can't hear whistles in Seattle. You can't hear anything. It's the loudest place I've played in the NFL. Sorry, Chief fans." There were people there that are just saying it was absolutely nuts tonight.
The Shaheed kick was insane.
It registered on the seismic meter.
No, like you could feel it on the TV. You could hear it in Burkhardt and Brady, like the way they were like, just kind of the same way like Joe Buck or even some of the previous broadcasters from back in the day would feel just like the stadium rock and stuff. When you can tell that the broadcasters are feeling it, that's when you know it's we're back, baby. We're back.
Well, when I knew tonight was going to be different, and I'd said it. I said it on our show a couple nights ago. I knew it was going to be different, but the confirmation of that was the aerial shot looking down over the stadium shortly before kickoff, and you saw almost no red.
Blue.
Yeah,
blue, baby.
Green, baby.
Yeah, in that section where it's the biggest problem, where all the corporations own their seats on the visitor side, club seats, right? The best, most expensive seats that they don't give a shit about, so they just put them online for sale or whatever. There was fewer 49er fans there than you would see for a meaningless regular season, probably than the Saints game, week 3. Like it was, there were a zero of non-factor. And yesterday, because a couple of people that are 49er fans took their pictures at Pike Place Market, there were 49er fans trying to tell us that they had taken over the city and that red was going to overrun the stadium. It's just harder to do in the postseason, but also I think it's a sign that people that have Seahawk tickets realize what's happening now. And they know this is real, and they want to be a part of it.
Yeah, you noticed how there were so few cheers for the few good plays the Niners had. Like you could see the red in the stands from the usual spots, but this was even better than when week 1 came around and everybody was worried, like, is this place going to sound like a 49ers home game? And that didn't happen. I mean, of course, it helped that the Seahawks whooped the Niners so badly that the Niners fans, many of them probably left early, but still. Next week, like the Bears definitely have some good traveling support, but the Rams we know have historically not had that. So it's going to be almost certainly even louder next week. And let's say the Seahawks make the Super Bowl, that's going to be a Seahawks home game in Santa Clara. And that is the 49ers fans' worst nightmare.
God, the one year that I'm not in the area, like it's as much as I regret it, couldn't be there tonight, can't be there next weekend. But maybe I should get credit for this whole thing. Like,
I was gonna say, Dan, stay on the East Coast. Just stay over there. As long as they keep doing this, you just stay in West Virginia, my friend. Just stay over on the East Coast. Hang out.
You're welcome. I had to leave for it to get got.
Can we
you had to leave? Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, go ahead, Bryce.
I was just gonna say you had to leave, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to form the Seahawks syndicate at training camp.
Yeah.
To all bring it together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can we just acknowledge we're halfway to the greatest ending to a Seahawks season ever? You go to Santa Clara for a Super Bowl practice where you win the West on their home turf. You clinch the 1 seed. Then you get to double tap them. Now you possibly have the Rams coming home, even if it is the Bears, that'd be cool too, because it'd be Ben Johnson versus Mike Macdonald, right? The guy that spurned the Seahawks, if you believe that, right? I still believe that John was always going to choose Mike Macdonald, but
yeah,
I do know that Ben, we were interested in Ben at some point, right?
Yeah.
And then if I'm not trying to overdo it, but you could get to go back to Santa Clara in that stadium, and you're probably you're probably looking at a very real shot of avenging a certain game that happened, a decade or so ago against a team that you should have beaten the Super Bowl, but you lost to on the 1-yard line.
Yeah.
Like as a fan, like that's it right there. Like I don't know if we'll ever have a scenario again where it's like, oh, I get to kill this rival. Oh, I get to double tap them. Cool. Oh, I get to kill this rival.
Did you see Adam Ray on Rich Eisen the other day?
Oh no, I haven't seen that.
Seattle
No.
comedian, right? He's a big diehard fan. He pointed out that exact thing. He's like, I think it was Eisen asked the question that way. He was like, can there be a better way as a Seahawk fan to win a championship than to have
No, there's
to beat
not.
49ers again, Rams again, and then win on the 49ers field? And the way he put it, I thought this is a great line. He said, yeah, it's like they have to win the division twice.
It felt that way. That's how I felt before tonight. And I feel like tonight just, again, you could have sold me on, even if we had lost for some reason tonight, you could sell me on believing this season was a success for the franchise. But tonight cemented it. Like, yes, I'll be heartbroken and angry if we lose on Sunday next week. But like what we've done, 15-3, boys, 8 wins in a row. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And it's so much fun to watch. Bryce and I were talking during the broadcast about how cool it is. And this is how I always feel about the draft, like in a vacuum, right? Like I love when a player takes those traits that you see on tape that you think can translate to the pros and actually translates them, right? And you watch it kind of before your eyes. That's what I feel like with this team as a whole. Like all the things that Mike Macdonald said he wanted his football team to look like, this is what he was describing. And even let's talk about the running game specifically here for a little bit. Like all season long when it was struggling, when it was stops and starts and it just they couldn't get out of their own way. And there'd be a 15-yard run and then there'd be 2 or 3 like tackles for loss. And he just kept saying, like, we're just sticking with it. It's the process. It's one little thing here. It's there. It's not the same thing on every play. It's the tight end on this play. It's a receiver missing a block on this play. It's a running back not picking the right lane. I think I'm just going to believe anything Mike Macdonald says from now on, because that's exactly what we saw happen. And now this running game looks so dominant that Sam Darnold doesn't have to do as much for this team to win.
Which was a must, because with the passing game not as reliant, not as explosive as it has been, and even tonight, it wasn't explosive passing. It didn't have to be. They didn't need to take shots down the field, although I will credit the fact that Cooper Kupp, playoff Kupp, showed up. Who would have guessed that he would be the leading receiver for both teams with what, 60 receiving yards? I don't know if any 49er had more than 5 catches. 5
catches, 60 yards, yeah.
Yeah, Ton just had 5 for 59. So yeah, Kupp tied for the most catches and then had the most yards. But the running game, a guy I want to shout out because of just kind of the timing of the running game's revival is Eric Saubert. Because the first game back, the Seahawks played the Colts and their running game was terrible. I mean, it was doing close to nothing. Walker, I think, had single-digit rushing yards. From the Rams game onward, it has been consistently positive as opposed to just, man, they're struggling. It's like 3 yards in a cloud of dust or 1 yard in a cloud of dust. So the tight ends are blocking well. Robbie Oots also is looking more comfortable in his fullback role. A couple of those I formation runs where you're just seeing him lead the way and Walker is following Oots. Like he's not missing as many assignments. He's not getting caught up in traffic. So it is exactly the run game that we thought we were getting when we watched training camp into that Chiefs preseason game.
And one more guy, Mookie, I want to add to that shout out list is Jalen Sundell.
Yes.
He has started to become more of the center that I thought he was going to be a year ago when me and Dan both were like, who is this guy? You know, when he came in as a rookie, he had a bit of a hiccup, and you know as well as I do, Mookie, I brought up on our shows and Mike as well, that I was kind of wavering there with Sundell. Like, can he be the guy? I mentioned, hey, maybe they go and upgrade center this offseason. And all Jalen Sundell has done is gotten better, understand his assignments better, and be more impactful in that run game. Like you look at the reverse tonight to Shaheed. Then you look at Walker's last touchdown. Who's out pulling and takes on Mustafa and completely buries him? Jalen Sundell.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jalen Sundell has, and you know what? Outside of one bad assignment miss by Anthony Bradford tonight on that stuff for Charbonnet on that shotgun run that was just a mess, Bradford played well tonight. Bradford's gotten better. Like, this is the first time we can say we can bring back all 5 offensive starters on the O-line next season with no contract issues. They're all coming back.
I'll take it a step further, Bryce. This team has a chance to bring this entire roster back. And if you I know all four of us in some form or another over the season have talked about different iterations of what this roster might look like next year. And do you bring Reek back at his market value and and Ken Walker and who else? The other Kobe Bryant and those guys. And fans tend to take a cynical view of this, and they want to think that you can't sign everybody. Salary cap is a detriment. It's an impediment. We can't sign everybody. This team, as they sit here today, I'm telling you all right now, could bring back this entire same 53-man roster in 2026 if they wanted to. That's how much financial flexibility they have in remaining cap space and veteran contracts they can pull levers on. They can do that if they want to. And in some form or fashion, they will. It won't be the whole 53. They're going to have to make a couple tough choices. But that just points out the stability and the continuity potential in this roster. And we're talking about a roster that's the third youngest in the league right now. That's the shocking beauty of this happening a year early is you extend that window. This is a team that should be competitive for championships for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They got, as Michael loves to say, they got the blue chippers now. They've got Byron Murphy. I thought that even though Leonard Williams was getting
years.
Yeah, they got Byron Murphy, and he was as good as Leonard Williams, just that Leonard got the sack. Byron Murphy playing like a blue chip guy.
That was, by the way.
Yes, JSN, blue chip guy, undeniably. Gray Zabel, I think, is ascending to blue chip status.
Eamon Warrior
as well. Even on a night where I thought he wasn't very good in the first half, he still breaks up that almost Hail Mary touchdown to Thompson.
Came up when it mattered.
And then gets a fumble recovery for good measure. So it's like, and if DeMarcus Lawrence was there like a tenth of a second sooner on Brock Purdy, he might have had a fumble return touchdown on the second play after Shaheed's kick return. So the biggest problem for the Seahawks during the post-Legion of Boom years is they did not replace the aging talent or the guys who just left in free agency or whatever with basically guys who should be considered top 10. They were at a talent deficit, and they slowly from the Russ trade onward, they've built that up. And they've made the smart free agent pickups, mostly the smart trades, to become a super talented team again. Talent gets you a long way in any sport, but especially the NFL. And the Seahawks are one of the most talented teams out there, bar none, across offense, defense, and special teams.
Here's a roundup of what Lawrence did tonight from Misfit D-Law with some crooked numbers: 3 quarterback hits, 2 tackles for loss, Big Cat with 2, a sack by each. And then John McGrath throws this out there. This will be interesting for debate. DeMarcus Lawrence, the best free agent pickup we've ever had. It's only been 1 year.
Bennett and Averill were pretty good.
I would say Bennett's probably there for me. D-Law would probably have to do it for one more season. I know he's older, but like there's no question. Both that signing and the Cup signing got a lot of criticism this offseason for being misguided and too much money thrown at guys that were injury prone or whatever. This team isn't here right now at 14-3 and about to play in the NFC Championship game if they don't sign those 2 guys.
There's one guy I'm going to throw into that argument. There's one guy. I don't think we're in this game if we don't have big slinging Sammy D either.
Yeah, no. And I'll even say this. I thought, I do believe, and no one could ever convince me otherwise unless John Schneider looks me in the eye and tells me this someday, that they fully intended to go into the season with Geno Smith. And they really did think he would be a good match in this offense. But again, if that's how it had gone down and Geno had been happy and not pushed for a new contract, and they're not here. They're not still playing today. I'm convinced of that.
So another guy to add a stat line to Misfits that, again, I will never understand this for the life of me. And I'm so thankful they made that decision down there at, in Inglewood, is Ernest Jones' stat line tonight as a middle linebacker. 6 tackles, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble. Talk about an impactful middle linebacker.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't had that since Prime Bobby. Realistically, we haven't. We haven't had it since Prime Bobby. And I think there's been a sequence in the era. So the Mike Holmgren era, you had an awesome middle linebacker in Lofa Tatupu.
Mm-hmm.
Pete had Bobby. Mike Macdonald's got Ernest Jones. Like, there is something to be said about when a Seattle defense is an elite defense or a good defense, having an elite middle linebacker in the middle of it at that time. The 3 errors kind of have proven that out. But another cool little note here I want to bring up is I think it's – oh, yes, here it is. So Brett Coleman, who we all know does fantastic work there with Underdog and everything. Tonight, the Seahawks have the equivalent of what would have been the highest pressure rate in the league this season, while also blitzing at what would have been the lowest rate in the league by the season by a lot. 47.4% pressure rate on just 10.5% blitz rate.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? Some of that was, I think, long pressures and not quick pressures. The quick pressures came as the game progressed. It felt like the edges weren't really getting the job done early on, but as the game progressed, it was Williams and Murphy and Lawrence getting into the backfield regularly. But part of why there were so many long pressures, I think, dudes weren't getting open. They were not getting open. And Purdy was throwing the ball. He's taking 4 or 5 seconds. Look at the Ernest Jones pick. They're in quarters coverage, and nobody is open. I got to admit, that's a pretty poor effort by Luke Farrell to try and fight for that ball. But Ernest is right there for the interception because Purdy is hanging on to the ball for 4 or 5 seconds, and he stayed in the pocket. Yeah. Big difference between that and some of the plays that they gave up where Purdy was allowed to escape and create. Keeping him in the pocket without a safety valve, that's when he panics and makes those turnovers.
Bryce, what was that pressure rate again?
47.4% pressure rate and only a blitz rate of 10.5%.
And where'd you get that from?
That's from Brett Coleman, and I think it was from Brett. He pulled it up. It's
interesting. I mean, different sites use different metrics or whatever. This is from Sumer Sports. They've got the blitz rate at 16.7%, which is still really low. They only have the pressure rate at 33.3%. But look at some of these other numbers I think are interesting. Tackle for loss rate, almost 17%. Almost 17% of running plays, we tackled them behind the line of scrimmage. And then look at the zone rate. Sumer Sports has the Seahawks playing 100% zone tonight, as opposed to 2 weeks ago against the 49ers. I think the number was somewhere around 27, 28% man, and that was the most man they'd run all season, just slightly more than they did the week before against the Panthers. So an interesting little strategic shift there. And when Mike Macdonald last week said, hey, there's some stuff we didn't get to on our call sheet from week 18, I didn't have to use it. Well, he probably didn't have to use his whole call sheet today either.
No, I doubt he did.
There's lost him there for a second.
I'm just like, guys, like I'm legitimately still kind of sitting here in a bit of shock that this game went the way that it did.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you know who was actually at the game tonight? I think as the emergency to the emergency. Stan Darnold was at the game tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw that he was flying in for it. Yeah.
And he had a pair of the socks which have a picture of Sam on them that say Ginger Cuz on the socks.
Did he get a chance to meet Sam though?
I don't know if he got a chance. I would imagine so, but like, do we now make it a rule that Stan Darnold has to be at the NFC Championship game?
Oh, I think so.
This is like our version of the fake Andy Reid that shows up at every Kansas City Chiefs game. But it's always for coaches. It's never for actual players that we see.
I thought you were going to talk about the guy with Big Dumper that had the shirts and he had layered for some run near the end.
They did here, and then it actually happened. I think in the Astros series, not Astros, of course.
No, this guy,
the Tiger series.
This guy needs 50-yard line seats for the NFC Championship.
Give him a box. Give him a
box. Yeah,
whatever.
Jody.
Hey, Bryce, do you think do you think Jed Fish would have told Kyle Shanahan, hey, on 4th and 2, not to run that outside option play?
I could not believe they ran that.
I did not even think because
that was Kubiak.
Who had more positive or negative PTSD? Dan positive or Bryce negative?
I didn't think about it, but
I thought about it immediately. I thought of
especially
the Apple Cup immediately.
Especially because I'm reading that book, and like Fish worked with Shanahan like in the past. Like he's part of that tree. It
was such a bad play.
Such a terrible call.
But here's the thing I don't get about that. I swear Clint Kubiak messed up Shanahan's play sheet, because that was like week 1 running the option with Milrow into the boundary, but you ran it to Kyle Juszczyk. Like, why is he running your speed option with McCaffrey into the boundary? And by the way, D-Law wrecked that play too.
Talk about
he took McClinchy back.
Talk about playing the long game, right? Kubiak ran that shit 20 weeks ago. And he's like, watch, this is going to come back. It's going to come back to us in the divisional round of the playoffs.
How do you guys feel like Clint called his game today?
I told Bryce about halfway through the third quarter, I think. I asked him if he thought it was Kubiak's best performance of the year. I do. You had another answer though. You liked.
So there were some things still with Kubiak's
play calling. Couldn't count the Washington game. That doesn't count.
Yeah. For me, there was that one small sequence we had where we went shotgun heavy, right? And it was the one where we ended up, I think, going down the field. We still ended up scoring, but we really went we got the field goal. We went shotgun heavy for the early part of that, and I was like, okay, get back to running the football. Outside of that, this might have been Clint's best feel for the game on when pressures were coming, when to call certain run plays. But like, I just, for me, this whole game, and I talked about it with Dan on our live stream of it, I feel this team got so much positive settling in force with that kickoff return to start the game. Like, that took, I think, some of the angst out of even the Seahawks, maybe, of like, hey, Sam gets to start with a 7-point lead when he goes on the field potentially, or worst case, it's a tie game.
Mm-hmm.
But you have that element already working in your favor. And then the defense goes out and does what the defense does and basically abuses Purdy on that first drive. And then it's okay, Sam, just go out and manage the ball down the field. And man, you know what? Like, that is one guy I will not stop talking about probably this week that I could not be more happy for is Sam Darnold, because stop moving the damn goalposts, stop making up reasons. He went in and won a playoff game, didn't even throw a ball, in my opinion, into a bad area. Like, there was the one, Dan, we talked about where it was the seam ball to JSN, where Lucas got bumped into him, and he read a different spot for the ball than JSN where he carried his route to.
Yeah.
But he never had a bad, like, dang, like, holy, like, Sam, why'd you throw that there? Like, he just sliced and diced when needed to, and then turned around and said, here you go, Ken Walker. Go just run rampant all over the 49ers, and I'll stay the hell out of your way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of thought in a way that a performance like this said more about Sam and maybe shedding that narrative. It's like he didn't have to come out and throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns to shut everybody up. He led a dominant performance from an offense in a divisional game against a Final 8 team, and he did it just comfortably. He never looked wide-eyed. He never looked panicked or stressed. He never looked like he was thinking about the injury at all. And he made some big-time throws when they needed it most and ran that offense. And I thought it was about as efficient as it's looked. And I'm just really, really happy for him and proud of him, because he's just a dude that I just love how he goes about his business every day. He doesn't, like, Gino and he sort of have some similarities in their style and in their story and their path, but we saw them handle it in very different ways. Gino just had such a chip on his shoulder, and he wound himself so tight that it was off-putting at times, and sometimes it showed up on the field because he just pressed. Darnold has that goldfish memory that even we saw it in week 11. He throws the 4 picks and he still brings them back at the end to score and then almost score again. He just he has the perfect mentality for someone who does have a tendency to turn the ball over, because it doesn't dig him into a deeper hole.
Like, I would say he's one of the most unassuming, like, starting quarterback with like elite talent that I can remember. Like, he truly does not play the role of the franchise quarterback, and yet he also does a good job of it, even though you can tell it's not his comfort zone is probably a good way to describe it. Like, he's just not the guy I expect to see on a bunch of commercials. But it's interesting when you're the USC quarterback, you win the Rose Bowl, you're the next not saying it's Andrew Luck, but he was definitely thought of early on in those USC years as like one of the next great franchise quarterbacks to get drafted. And then the whole Jets thing, like it's cool. One of the commenters in here brought up like he's not seeing ghosts anymore. He's now a Ghostbuster and stuff. Like that is kind of
I
a
like
fun
that.
little like
I like that.
way to describe him and a cool little nickname going forward. But man, I keep going back to like 2nd and 20, 7-0. And he throws that beautiful pass to Cooper Kupp. Like for this, I know I'm guilty of it, for that game manager like mantra that I give him or nickname or whatever. Like that was such an elite throw. That was such a good throw. Like when you got Tom Brady saying that's a dang good throw, and that just completely, that was a moment where the game could have shifted and turned into kind of a slugfest. The Seahawks hadn't really gotten a drive going just yet and stuff. And just again, I think I brought it up a few times. There's going to be a couple plays a game where he scares me. There's also going to be a couple plays a game where it's like, that's the guy that won the Rose Bowl. That was the much, thought of prospect. That's the franchise quarterback. I don't remember any scary plays today. And maybe that was just a byproduct of the way the game started and stuff, but he just felt so in control and so in command of the game, despite his role not needing to be much more. And I think that also goes back to Kubiak as well. I thought they just were in such command and control. And maybe that really just is having Rashid Shaheed do his best Percy Harvin impression. And it just completely puts the game immediately tilted towards the Seahawks' favor.
And I don't expect the narrative to completely shut down now, because if we do end up playing the Rams in the NFC Championship game, then it's obviously going to be a big storyline throughout the week, right? Because it will happen against them in the wild card round last year for Minnesota. But what I think it does do is it just adds another layer of context to that stupid argument that people have that because he failed so miserably against the Rams last year, he can't ever do it again. That Rams team that he played against was red hot. They were pressuring everybody. And that Vikings team was playing with an offensive line with 4 guys out of 5 that aren't on that roster anymore. And there's a reason for that, because they didn't want them to be there anymore. It was a dysfunctional offense with a broken offensive line at the time. It's just not the case here, and so it's encouraging to see him make that step for sure. Tomorrow, do we think, Bryce, you kind of hinted, you kind of gave it away a little bit from your perspective. Do we expect it to be the Rams next week? What do we think of the game tomorrow, you guys? You just kind of take
I've got a feeling the Bears are going to pull this out. I think that weather is going to be quite a factor in that game. And the one thing I'll say the Bears have in this is they have I think one of the better running games in the NFL. They do, but they also have a quarterback that can play off schedule as the best of some of any of them in the league right now, which is hard to play against. And right now, that Rams defense, it's struggling. It struggled versus Bryce Young and a Carolina team that lacks talent in a lot of ways. You look across at that, Bears team, and one player I'm going to say that's going to be my X factor in that game that I think could have a big day. It's Colston Loveland. That guy is going to be a problem. And I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Mookie, what do you think?
Yeah.
I think that the Rams will win it. I don't think the weather is going to be as big a storyline as people making it out to be, but there are 2 things that I will give pause to as far as my Rams pick. One is that finger still bothering Stafford, because through 2 quarters, Greg Olsen was pretty much insistent that was the reason why Stafford was wayward. But he did deliver when the Rams absolutely needed him to on those last 2 drives, and it looked like his finger magically healed. So that's one bit. The second bit is, how is their defense going to hold up against the Bears rushing attack? Whether it's Swift or Monangai, because that running game, if you want to talk about offensive line building, so Seattle, I think, has done a good job, and John Schneider should be commended for the way this offensive line ended up developing. But the Bears did trade for Tooney and trade for Jonah Jackson, and they already have Darnold Wright and other guys, and it's worked out for them, and they got a good offensive line. Another thing to think about, Caleb Williams is so good at sack avoidance this year, as opposed to last year where a bad O-line and him just being a rookie, he was just getting sacked for fun. This Rams pass rush has not been great lately. And if you get Caleb Williams on the run, extending plays or whatever, he can break just about any defense doing something special. So
he's not turning the ball over.
He's not turning the ball over. I mean, he did twice last week, but still, he's still making up for it with his productivity. And if the game is close, I mean, are you willing to doubt the Bears at this point, that they won't find some stupid way it seemed to get back into a game. So the Rams have got to watch themselves. But the reason why I'm picking the Rams is mostly because this Bears defense without turnovers is just not very good. And losing, who was it? Was it TJ Edwards to that broken ankle? So their linebackers are already a weak spot. So that's a nightmare against the McVay defense. But go ahead, Bryce.
I'm just going to say, so Mookie, the weather tomorrow in Chicago is -13. And then at kickoff for them, it will be snowing at -7.
Now, and I know it's been a big narrative this week, and there's been a lot made of the fact I think Stafford's 1 out of 10 in games under a certain temperature or whatever.
Which is all during his Lions days.
But he damn near beat the Eagles last year in Philly, and it was snowing and cold and everything. It didn't seem to bother him at all.
So and also that would just encourage the Rams to run the ball. And if Kyron Williams and Blake Corum can get going, then that can mitigate some of what could possibly ail Stafford. But of course, I'm going to root for the Bears to win. I don't want to play the Rams a third time. If it does happen, then bring them on. But otherwise, like a new matchup would be more intriguing to me than having to do this NFC West tour for a third time. But yeah, I can't count Chicago out at this point. And then no AFC team scares me. Like Denver, less so because of the Knicks injury now.
Well, yeah.
And I was legit shocked that happened when I'm pulling up Twitter in the middle of the game. But like Houston could still be interesting because of their defense, but their offense is not scoring on Seattle. And then New England is still a formidable team, but I trust Seattle's offense to break through against New England's defense. So to me, if they make it to if they win the NFC Championship, they're going to win the Super Bowl. That is pretty much my stance right now.
Michael, I'll let you take this question because, the Clint Kubiak thing has been a big narrative the last couple of weeks, and the news that Kevin Stefanski appears to have the job in Atlanta might be tweaking that a little bit. But Ham Sandwich with the super chat, appreciate it, chimes in with, do you all think the NFL should change the rules on teams reaching out to coaches still in the postseason? To me, it's a distraction and it's tampering. You even have people who are tied into the league this year, analysts and longtime national voices saying, this seems wrong. Something's got to be tweaked. How do you feel about the process?
Yeah, I don't like it. And, obviously Seattle's been a part of that. There was a lot of angst with us 2 years ago because it was like, why, what are we waiting for? What are we taking so long? Do you think they're waiting for Mike Macdonald? Well, what if they don't get him, right?
Yeah.
That ended up working out. We had to wait until he got upset by the Chiefs. Remember, that team was supposed to win the Super Bowl. So the Seahawks could have had to wait another 2.5 weeks to lock up their guy. And it's just a weird thing. I don't like that. I think, it's not like college, which is a shit show right now. I think the NFL should figure out a way to make these guys focus on what they're doing, right? This is about finishing the job that they've done. I feel like if you're concerned about it, I think the NFL is in a much easier spot to push, free agency back one more week if they had to. If they need to push the draft back one more week, they could. But yeah, to be honest, I don't want these offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators, whether it's for the Seahawks this year or us wanting to interview those guys, a couple years ago, let these guys finish the job, right? I remember thinking about when Dan Quinn was coaching that last game with the Seahawks, just remember being like, that's weird. It's just weird knowing that tomorrow, I remember Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth said tomorrow morning he is going to be in Atlanta to take the head coaching job.
Shanahan, same thing. Yeah, Shanahan was in exactly the next day after they melted down and lost that Super Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, just it is what it is, and I don't know if there's a strong desire to change it. I personally would like us to wait, though. That's my opinion.
I did see an interesting suggestion this week from somebody where they said part of the problem is since they went to 17 games, everything got pushed back, but they didn't change anything in the offseason. And so the best example of that is the combine and how quickly the scouting combine comes up after the Super Bowl's over.
Yeah.
And now that it's a 17-game season, it's not a 3-week break, it's a 2-week break. And so, teams trying to hire coaching staffs and stuff that's tight. Because
I don't think the rules. I don't think they're going to change anything. But
combine needs to be pushed back at minimum. Yeah. I've got a question here from John. Don't want to focus too much on what's happening next year, but want to acknowledge this because I think we touched on it earlier. But it's a valid question. And John's he's a really, really good staunch supporter of all of our channels, and he's been consistent all the way through the season, even as the offensive line continued to grow. It was like, hey, Anthony Bradford's the weak link at right guard, right? We've all agreed on that at certain points. And we're all draft nerds, and so we're always thinking about the offseason. But he's gotten so much better as the season's gone along. And today was a good example. A couple of people said in the comments, we didn't even hear his name today, right? Like, that's kind of the best news for an offensive lineman, is if you just don't hear his name. I think right now I'll stick with what I said earlier. I think the goal right now, as we sit here today, is to bring back as much of this team as you can for next year. Anthony Bradford has 1 year left, a cheap fourth year on his rookie contract still available. Why would you mess with what's working right now? Yeah, if best player available and all of that, if there's someone that falls to you in the draft that you really like, or if somebody else steps up, if a Bryce Coutts takes a step forward. But I'm not going out looking to spend a bunch of money in free agency to upgrade guard or center, because I think this line is growing in the right direction. They average 24 years of age. They're the youngest line in the league. How can you argue with what we're seeing right now?
Yep. I don't think they have to change anything of this offensive line right now. If they want to get depth, veteran depth, sure.
Yeah.
But like Bryce Coutts and Mason Richmond, you still got to see what improvements they can make next year. Christian Haynes is kind of last chance saloon, I think, next season, if he can, and maybe a push for more playing time, or any playing time at this point. But otherwise, continuity, I think, is key. Good continuity is key. If you Justin Herbert's offensive line last week, that is not a group that you want to keep next season for continuity purposes. Right. But this group, absolutely. And if you want to think about what happened with the Seahawks from 2012 to 2013, and just as kind of bigger picture beyond the offensive line, they miss out on making the Super Bowl, narrowly lose to Atlanta after that, and saying come back. I can't remember too many key pieces that left from the 2012 team. Like, okay, maybe like Alan Branch or Jason Jones, but those are bit part players. As far as the offensive line, they kept everybody. As far as the running back group, they kept everybody. Wide receiver, same deal. And then they added Percy Harvin, of course. Tight end, they kept Zach Miller and then drafted Luke Wilson. So they kept everybody on offense. They added key pieces on defense. Next thing you know, that's what puts them over the top. Not saying it's going to happen the exact same way this year. In fact, I'd rather they just win the Super Bowl and then we don't have to make those comparisons anymore. But still, there are so few changes this team really needs to make. I'll tell you what, if they win the Super Bowl, does it make it any more or less likely they trade for Max Crosby, for example? Like that's the kind of thing that we could think about. Like, do they still want to go big game hunting for a superstar edge rusher? Otherwise, like this is going to be an offseason where they don't need to make big changes because the roster is that good, as opposed to these 1 year patchwork deals to plug holes on a very leaky boat, which is what we saw so much during the end of the Pete era.
Even the Crosby thing, like the equations changed. Like, we don't have the ammo that we did at the trade deadline. We don't have the players that we were going to involve in that deal. You're talking about a draft that's not valued as one of the better drafts we've seen in a while. So is that going to change the equation as far as what the Raiders want in return? Like, you're not going to want to trade from this roster with all these young players that you like. And so I think it's going to be tougher to trade for him this offseason than it would have been. It sounds like we're kind of close to making something happen at the trade deadline. It's been a long night, guys. I want to go around one more time. And thanks again for Mookie and Michael for dropping in and hopping in and making it sort of a little bit of a different version of the Seahawks Syndicate with Mike stepping in for Brandon. I think he would have given a big thumbs up to that move. Go around one more time. Just final thoughts on the game today and how you feel looking forward over the next week. Let's start with you, Bryce, and work around that way.
Ooh, well, this week's going to be fun. And it's going to be so sweet to just watch all the excuses come rolling out from Santa Clara and just, hey, guys, tomorrow, again, we get to do what we did last weekend and just sit on a Sunday, enjoy ourselves, kick our feet up, and see who's going to come play and have to go through Lumen to get to the Super Bowl. And every time we have hosted an NFC Championship game, we have not lost. And if I feel what I'm feeling right now from 12s, this NFC Championship game may be the loudest one yet. And I don't want to have to be the Bears or the Rams walking in to play that defense after they just did what they did to the San Francisco 49ers. And I don't know if I want to play Seattle's rushing attack, because those are the two scariest things in playoff football, guys, is a great defense and a running game that can just beat the crap out of you. So I'm feeling pretty good. And tonight was a lot of fun.
Michael, final thoughts.
Yeah, no, it's been a special couple weeks. I'm going to read a quick tweet from Ben Solak. If you remember, he's the one that said the Seahawks were going to have the worst offense and have the worst offseason. I will give him some benefit of the doubt. He has definitely come around. I think getting Cable Thanos definitely did a number on him. But he said that Kyle Shanahan has coached 163 games for the 49ers. His team has only been held under 7 points 4 times. 2 of those 4 have come in January 2026 against the Seattle Seahawks.
That's insane. That's
just
we went 2 straight games, 8 full quarters against the 49ers and did not allow a touchdown.
No, we closed the door on the San Francisco 49ers. They are the ones that have to make the adjustments. They are the ones that have to retool and figure out how they're going to get back to our level, which is something that we had chased since, I would say, 2019, when we lost the NFC West at the 1-inch line. Since that moment, it took us half a decade to catch them. And tonight, 41-6. Like, just no matter what happens here on out, this is going to be one of the most enjoyable playoff wins. I don't know about you guys. I frequently watch the playoff games on YouTube in the summer just to feel good about it and stuff. I love watching that Carolina Seahawks NFC Championship game. This will definitely jump up to the top of that like just absolute ass whooping. And here we are. We are 60 minutes away at home, rested. It looks like we're pretty healthy, knock on wood, from playing in a West Coast Super Bowl. And like Mookie said, probably the best player in the NFL is out due to crazy turnovers and pass interference things with Buffalo. That was the one team I was very nervous about. And yeah, if it's the Rams, it's the Rams, right? That's your 2013 NFC Championship. If they beat us, they're going to win the Super Bowl. If we beat them, we're going to win the Super Bowl. That's kind of where I'm at. Or weather and just the Bears' destiny plays a number, and they come to Chicago Bears, come to Seattle. But either way, I think we're at the point where Tom Brady said it himself very well. And I actually thought Tom, that was his first game broadcasting us since the Buffalo game last year, which was just kind of nice to see a difference in how much he's grown and just how much he's turned on the Seahawks in a positive way. But he said it, if Sam doesn't turn the ball over, how does anyone beat these guys? And I think that is the message that was sent tonight in the NFL. The Seahawks sent a message 2 weeks ago when they won the NFC 1 seed in the West. And again, it was just, I joke about it. It's that double tap. Like, again, they sent a message to the NFL that if we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, if we don't beat ourselves, then 4 weeks from tomorrow, guys, or 3 weeks from tomorrow, guys, we're going to probably be on one of these podcasts crying, smoking cigars, drinking some very delicious beverages, celebrating our second world championship. That's kind of where I'm at right now. The ball is in the Seattle Seahawks court if they want to win the Super Bowl. Sorry, not the World Series.
There you go. Mookie, take us home.
That was my all-time. That is now supplanted in terms of just beating the 49ers. That's now replaced 42-13. Because I actually love that one. That stomping. That was the beginning of the Legion of Boom story. Yeah. That the Seahawks were. That was their big statement win. Truly, as far as that Legion of Boom era. That was still a regular season game. They still didn't win a division that year. This year, they knocked the 49ers out of the playoffs. Keep in mind, the only other time Shanahan has been bounced from the playoffs were blown leads or the Eagles game where Purdy's elbow blew up on him and they just had no chance after that. So Shanahan's teams normally go down swinging.
Yeah,
they got standing TKO'd within the first couple of rounds. I mean, that was basically George Foreman versus Joe Frazier, 1 and 2 for the boxing heads out there, where Frazier just got absolutely destroyed by this new kid on the block who's this monstrous puncher. The Seahawks punched back and then some. It was a 3 phases victory, unlike anything we've seen from the Seahawks in a playoff game since the Super Bowl against Denver. And it meant so much to me because I don't want to use this as an opportunity or to knock on Pete or anything, but how many times, even in the wins with Carroll, did the Seahawks come out completely flat in a playoff game?
Mm-hmm.
Even the Saints when they were down like 10-0 out of the gate and 17-7, they came back and Beastquake happened, all that. Following week, they're down 28-0 or 28-3 against the Bears, a team that they beat in the regular season. And then, of course, the 2015 or the 2014 NFC Championship game, 16-0 down to Green Bay at halftime. Or Russ fumbling on the first play and they're 10-0 down against the Niners in the
15 at Carolina, right? It's
down 31
in the first half.
And the week before they got shut out for 3 quarters against Minnesota, or 20-0 down against Atlanta. I could go on and on. Ironically, the Super Bowl was unlike any of the other Pete Carroll playoff performances. This felt like a Pete era type of victory where they announced their dominance early. And Rashid Shaheed, tip of the cap to you. For a guy who has had 0 catches or 1 catch, the last few games, or 2 catches, I guess, the impact he has made through running the ball or on special teams is immeasurable. I mean, he is something else. They have to extend him. So, full credit to the offense. They did what they had to do. They finished drives. I said at Syndicate, finish your damn drives. They should have won by more than 10 points last time. They made sure to finish those drives. The defense, outstanding. Even when they weren't getting pressure, they were locking receivers up, and the run defense held firm yet again. And then the special teams, Jason Myers missed no kicks. Michael Dixon was pinning them at the 5. It was comprehensive beatdown of a team that they had been struggling against forever. And now we just wait 1 more week in Lumen Field, whether it's the Bears or the Rams. They can turn a season that the odds makers thought 7-8 wins, fine, whatever. A lot of the fan base even thought, okay, we can make the playoffs, but a Super Bowl run? Nah, not really. Well, folks, the reality is here. The Seahawks are on the cusp of making the Super Bowl with Sam Darnold at quarterback, with Cooper Kupp, the tormentor of the Seahawks for years, contributing in big ways.
Yeah.
Everything has broken Seattle's way this year from the offseason onward, with everything that happened, with moving on from Geno, moving on from DK, all of this stuff. And I'll tell you what, we're talking about Pete Carroll getting a statue one of these days. They win the Super Bowl, John Schneider should be built right alongside him, because those will end up being the 2 singular most important figures in Seahawks history when all is said and done. And Schneider even more so, because it will have done it with and without Pete.
Yeah. I think one of the more remarkable things about tonight is that, I mentioned that I'm reading this book about the Shanahan tree and everything else. And I think where we're really going to see the impact of this game is between now and the beginning of next season is Shanahan, knowing his history, and he's done this before. He's going to go back to the drawing board. McVay did it 3 years ago in LA, and he's going to rewrite his playbook. He's going to have to change that offense to try to adjust to what the Seahawks have taken away and proven that they can take away from them over the last couple of weeks. One thing to keep an eye on as the week progresses. Tonight was about as nice as you could ever ask for in the middle of January in the Pacific Northwest. Next week, it looks like weather may be a factor, and we maybe get some precipitation and some wind and rain and cold next week, regardless of what happens. The other thing too, and I think this was a factor certainly tonight that sort of built over the last 3 or 4 weeks, just with how the schedule fell for the 49ers. But regardless, Seahawks face the Bears or the Rams next week. They're going to be facing a team on a shorter week than we have that has to fly out this way and undergo a time change and get ready in 1 fewer day than the Seahawks. That is just one of the many advantages for all the crying we heard this week about how the schedule and how come it has to be Saturday because we just played. If you earn the 1 seed, you win the division. Guess what, guys? These are the spoils that come to the victors. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Really appreciate it. That's Bryce, Mookie, Michael. You can see all of their Twitter handles there. Follow them all. Subscribe to anything that they do. Guys, this was fun. Really appreciate y'all being here. Should we try a Go Hawks? We usually suck at this, but just got to keep trying, right? But by the way, also before we do this, thank you for everyone for being here. I know there's a lot of stuff going on tonight. There's a lot of celebrating that needs to be done. There's a lot of great streams out there and a lot of great competitors and some really, really, really good content creators in the Seahawks sphere. So thank you for choosing to be here with us. All right, you guys, I'll go count of 3 and then we'll follow it up with a Go Hawks afterwards. 1, 2, 3. Go Hawks. We're never going to get it. It's just the endless. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it. We'll see you next time.